Welcome back to the D5 Football YouTube channel. This week I'm with Alex, who's a Wrexham fan and sports journalist, and we're going to be speaking about the takeover of Wrexham by some Hollywood movie stars. But first thing, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good as well. So, if you're not familiar, you should have heard of it, obviously. Wrexham have been taken over by two Hollywood movie stars, Rob McElhenney, I think that's how you pronounce it, McElhenney, I think, and Ryan Reynolds. I've heard of that guy as well, so I can pronounce his name pretty easily. I think there are about 20 different pronunciations because it's like an Irish name or something. So I think I've got it right and got it wrong at the same time. But the name isn't important. So obviously the people are important. So we've got a few sort of questions and sort of things like that. So for you then, a Wrexham fan, this takeover, what does it mean?
Everything. Without sounding too cliche, I've supported Wrexham for 13 years, and all that time's been in non-league basically. So especially in these times when we've been fan-owned, we nearly went bust. To have your club on the brink of extinction basically was heartbreaking, and to see how far we've come under the supporters' trust, I don't think that can be undervalued at all, to be honest. We became debt free, secured the ground on a 99-year lease, and they've put us in this position to get this opportunity that, well, no other club has had. Do you know what I mean? It's everything, and I just wish we could be there to celebrate with the players and Ryan and Rob themselves, hopefully at some point.
So for a bit of background, I'm somewhat familiar at least with Wrexham as an outsider. Wrexham fans will obviously be familiar, but a general sort of overview of the club is they've been stuck in what is now called the National League for a number of years, probably since about 2008, I think it is. And before that, the club were sort of what you'd say a probably steady League One and League Two club. So the difference then, being stuck in the National League, are fans hopeful now that this sort of long period in the National League might end with this new takeover?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've had our ups in the National League. I think we'd be the first to admit it, and you speak to any Wrexham fan and they'll tell you that. From 98-point season to missing out, Fleetwood and Jamie Vardy, to last season, if it wasn't for COVID, then potentially I believe we could have got relegated. So we've had our ups and downs, and now this has happened. We won last night, which puts us in the playoffs. And with that extra financial backing, yeah, I believe that it could be over. Whether it's this season, I'm not sure. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the season. And if not, it's no downhill. We just put the groundwork down and we go in the summer and use that money to our advantage and go again next year. The National League's getting stronger and stronger every year, with teams coming down from League Two and the likes of York and stuff trying to get back up from the National League North and South. So I think the sooner the better we can get out of it. Otherwise, yeah, we're still going to be here in several years' time. But I do think this is the beginning of the end for us.
So a bit of a rough timeline. I think it was around about September that there was sort of before September at least sort of rumours of a takeover. Then it was September. It was announced the names of these movie stars who were interested in taking over the club. And I believe there's some kind of you'll obviously know better than me, but I believe some kind of, because of the club, how the club is ran and stuff like that, there has to be, if there's the votes and stuff like that, there's a due process for things like takeovers and stuff like that. So this due process was going through, and everything was going well, which I think is actually quite good that you have these sort of protections just to make sure you don't have a con man coming in, which I think is fair enough. And I'd like to see that every club. And then sort of November, the vote gets passed. During this time, then there's a massive spotlight being put on Wrexham. People who had not heard of Wrexham before, from bloody America and Canada and all these places around the world. What was that then, having this massive spotlight put on Wrexham?
To be honest, it was a bit mad. You know, there was when it came out that there was these two investors that were interested in buying the club. There was a lot of excitement before we even knew it was Ryan and Rob, but also a lot of, you know, anxiety, I think, about who it was because of what we've been through. Obviously, nearly going bust not so long ago. But when it was announced that it was Ryan and Rob, well, it just went nuts. You know, we were trended everywhere. Everyone was talking about us. We were all over news channels. We were, you know, people who you think, how the heck do you know about a little town in North Wales? And because of obviously the stature that Ryan and Rob hold, that they're attracting these people. And you think, as a Wrexham fan, it's like, oh, this is brilliant. Because normally people say to you, oh, who do you support? And it's like, oh, I support my local club, Wrexham. And they're like, well, who's your proper team?
Mm.
And suddenly it was like, well, yeah, Wrexham. I've heard of them. I know who they are. And it was no longer who's your bigger team or whatever. And then, yeah, it's just been pretty mental. I mean, the club shop have had orders coming in from all over the world, people buying shirts, people buying all sorts of memorabilia. And you just think, wow, we're in the National League. Yeah, we average one of the best attendances in the league, but the potential now, even in the league we're in, is phenomenal to get, 10,000 or whatever we can get. And people, you hear people coming from America or whatever to go to Anfield or Old Trafford or whatever. Now there's people coming over to come to the racecourse, and yeah, that doesn't still feel real.
So again, what do we sort of know about these guys? Obviously, bar for the way they make the money, obviously. What do we know about them in terms of the background within sports, and why Wrexham? Because again, you have it with takeovers where, yeah, listen, it would make sense if you grew up in Wrexham or something like that, but I don't think you did. They were American, aren't they, or Canadian as well? So you get these sort of takeovers. Why Wrexham? Why not, I say Chester? I know your rival's Chester. Why not Rochdale? Why not Birmingham? Why not? Why Wrexham? Is there any sort of suggestions to why Wrexham, or is that something we don't really know at this moment?
When we had our little Zoom call with the members with both Ryan and Rob, that was obviously a major question, because when it was announced, yeah, don't get me wrong, I was as happy as the next person, but it was, well, what do they want with our football club? And when they were questioned on it, their answer was genuinely, they think we're a sleeping giant, and they want to wake up that sleeping giant. Now, as a fan, to hear that, that's exciting. I don't care who you support. That's what you want to hear, isn't it? And yeah, people can say, oh yeah, whatever, they're just saying what you want to hear to get the vote passed. But they turned it into a personal level, and they'd done their research. They know about little things that might not mean anything to you guys listening, but little personal things like the Gresford Memorial disaster, which is a big thing to Wrexham fans, and the disabled liaison officer who does amazing work at the football club. Before Ryan and Rob had even had this meeting with the fans, they'd already spoke to her to encourage her work, and they've been donating money into local charities and stuff, and really doing their work to prove themselves. Yeah, so the disabled liaison officer, Kerry Evans, she's done amazing work for the football club in several ways, and become an integral part of our DNA kind of thing, under the Supporters Trust. And before Ryan and Rob had even had the Zoom where they interacted with the fans, and that, they'd already spoke to her about her work and what their ambitions were to keep her on, etc. So they'd already done the groundwork kind of thing. They understand from what I've seen and what we've heard and stuff. And I know people are going to say, well, they're just saying what, they want you to hear, but they genuinely get it, I think. The club, the town, it's a working class town. We've got a major history, and they know about that. And they've done their best to incorporate that into everything they've said, statements, the Zoom calls, their mission statements, everything. It's been incorporated, and even donating money to local charities and stuff before they'd even taken over. They really want to become part of the DNA of not just Wrexham, but not just Wrexham Football Club, but Wrexham as a town and the whole of North Wales. We've got a big catchment area of North Wales, and they want to get them people back. The people who used to come when people say when we were good, but when we were in the Football League and flying high, we want to get them people back. And back to the biggest club in North Wales, and why not?
So we sort of spoke, a lot of the sort of questions and stuff like that, we sort of gone over in bits really, but more on sort of the fans then from North America and this new influx of people. What has that been like? Have they been joining the message board, following people on Twitter, buying shit, stuff like that? What's that been like? And how has there been sort of perhaps in some way a bit of a backlash from sort of might say proper Wrexham fans compared to, you might say, the newer Wrexham fans who they were sort of getting involved in the club now, that there are these sort of all these different people, new people coming in, a massive sort of influx that there's sort of a bit like it's a bit different really. What's that like then, having all these this sort of massive influx of different people who are starting to support Wrexham now?
I think on that point of there being a bit of a backlash or whatever, to be honest, I haven't seen anything. I think the excitement within the fan base is another level, and I think we're all just quite inclusive as a fan base. So whatever country you come from or whatever you want to support us, then we support you. It's welcome to the greatest club in the world is what our fans like to say. On the social media and stuff, when it was announced about Ryan and Robert, I had a follow request on Twitter from a Japanese account, which was a Japanese Wrexham fan account. And all the tweets were in Japanese and stuff, but they were tweeting pictures of like Mickey Thomas on the ground and stuff, but it was just in Japanese. And that was a pinch me moment, I think, when you think, well, they're in Japan. What are they doing on about our football club? And yeah, there's been like Canadian Reds and American Reds and stuff, and yeah, the shirt sales been flying out to all sorts of places in America and Canada and that. And I believe, as much as people say, well, you're a fan and you're not worried you're not going to get stuff or whatever, tickets or whatever. To be honest, I think as long as the club are doing well and whatever happens, who am I to complain? We're in a better place than what a lot of football clubs are in at the moment, obviously because of coronavirus. So to be honest, I'm just grateful to have some positivity in a pretty rubbish time and the stability of knowing your football club's safe.
And as well, I guess when you get some of these big names of rich people sort of taking over clubs, there can be sort of a worry that they sort of splash the cash, put the club in debt and stuff like that, and then mess everything up. I guess for me, at least as an outsider, this is a bit difficult because it's not a oil-rich family or someone like that, or these are big names, and they're going to have a PR team, obviously, just for the movie stuff. We're going to be saying, yeah, you better not mess this up because that's going to hit you back PR because, we see sort of in things nowadays, stuff like things trending on social media, and I don't like what this guy's done and stuff like that. So if it did come out, I guess, that they destroyed a football club, and I'm not saying that that's what they want to do or anything like that, but if it did come out, then that would be quite bad. So I guess that sort of, they'll have had that chat with their PR guys and sort of said, yeah, you better know what you're doing because if you mess it up accidentally, then, there's going to be a bit of a backlash. So I guess that's possibly a bit, at least if I'm a fan, I'm sort of thinking, yeah, these are big names, someone to hold accountable, okay, compared to someone who's got loads of money, but you've never heard of them before, and they can drift back off into wherever and then have no sort of accountability if it does go wrong. Is that sort of what Wrexham fans are thinking as well?
Yeah, I think the general feel of it is, the Ryan himself owns several successful businesses, which kind of, yeah, they're not football clubs or sports businesses or whatever, but it kind of puts your mind at rest straight away because he knows what he's doing in terms of the business side of things. And Rob, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name, but Rob seems like that calming influence as well. And with them being so big, like you say, there's a documentary, Fly on the Wall thing, with Netflix or whoever coming. And for them, yeah, it's huge for them. They know their reputation with a lot of people is going to be on the line, and they know they've got to do it right for that reason, because the football is the biggest sport in the world, and if you mess a football club up, you're gonna have backlash, aren't you? And in several ways, in business ways, in career ways, in all sorts of ways. So yeah, I definitely think that's a positive, and definitely puts your mind at rest.
You sort of touched on this before about the plan they have and what they want to do. Going in more in depth then of what you know, what you see. What do you think their plans are, sort of long term, of what they want to do, not just for in terms of league position, but also perhaps things like there's something to do with the stadium or the sort of wider community? What do we know what their plans are?
Well, like you say, first of all, it's to secure EFL football. In their mission statement, that was a big thing. And they put out a lot of times, always beat Chester if we ever play them again. So we know that's one of the long-term ambitions. But on a serious note, they want to secure a training facility which is worthy of Football League football and standard, because at the moment we haven't got that permanent base. Do you know what I mean? We're kind of training either at the ground or kind of in a grass field in the middle of nowhere. It's not. To be honest, at times it wouldn't even be National League standard, let alone Football League standard. And they also want to improve the ground so we can get international games back at the racecourse, Welsh internationals and concerts, which we've had recently. We had Stereophonics and Ollie Murs. They've been probably the two biggest concerts, and we've had a Welsh friendly game. So they want to build on that, and they know the foundations are there. And they just want to make it as sustainable as possible.
So for you then, obviously you said you've not really seen him in Wrexham in League 1 or League 2, the Football League. You've only ever seen him in the conference then. Is that something that excites you then, that you might actually sort of see Wrexham back in League 2? Some would say League 1 even, some would say that's where Wrexham belong.
Yeah, definitely excites me. When I think of all the playoff hurt we've gone through and stuff like that, the thought of, as mad as it sounds, the thought of going away to someone like Exeter, Mansfield, whoever, yeah, who wouldn't be excited? The thought of, because I think the Football League it's not just the league status that it brings with it. It's the opportunity of more televised money with Sky Sports. Obviously international breaks, they show League 1 and League 2. You have the EFL trophy, the Papa John's trophy, whatever it's called. Obviously you go straight into the FA Cup first round. So it's all that it brings with it as well, and the extra publicity and things like that. And I think the extra professionalism that it brings. And yeah, it is where we belong when you look at the stadium, the fan base, everything about it. But I think I'm just excited for the ride. No matter what happens now, I'm here for the ride. We've had so many years of hurt that, yeah, bring it on. I'm fasten my seatbelt and I'm ready to go.
There you go. So I just want to say thanks for coming on and having a chat and telling us a bit about Wrexham. I learned some stuff about Wrexham as there, so I'm sure people who perhaps I think might be a few Americans who are movie fans who are watching this who have no idea what Wrexham is, but have a bit more of an idea now, which is quite good. Before we go, first of all, like I said, we're going to leave links in the description to a few things. So we've got a few things to shout out. First of all, I think a lot of Wrexham fans will be watching this as well. We did an interview back in September with Elliot Devell, obviously Wrexham player, which did quite well. A lot of people seem to enjoy it. So it's got quite a lot of good content in there, I should say. So be sure to go and have a watch of that. We'll leave a link in the description as well. There's an interview we did with Alistair Smith of Altrincham, who got nothing to do with Wrexham, I don't think, but I just thought, shout out our latest podcast we've done, and that's about 20 minutes long, so it's nice sort of bite-sized type of thing. So sure to go and give at least one of those a watch or whatever. And obviously, link to Alex's stuff and everything will be in the description as well, so you can go and have a follow on Twitter or anything like that. and stuff like that. So I just want to say thank you for coming on, and
Thank you for having me.
And hopefully, like I said, maybe come back on in a year, whatever, when Wrexham have been promoted, or something like that.
I hope so.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another one of these videos.